Sometimes, when a person feels they have no other option, they do not turn to ending their own life. Instead, they choose to destroy everything that matters most to the person they are separated from. This kind of act is not driven by sudden anger or passion. It comes from a cold, deep sense of ownership and control. In this case, 2 young children's lives were taken in a brutal way, used as weapons to win the cruelest kind of fight. Well, if you are ready to sleep with this story, then have a good night. If not, then see you at the end. And by the way, I am Zara Leela. You can call me Zara or Leela. In May of 2015, Jason Worley noticed that something was different about his wife Brandi. She had set a password on her phone. Jason was 30 years old and worked as a software engineer in Darlington, Indiana, a small town with about 900 people, located roughly 40 miles northwest of Indianapolis. Brandi was 29. They had been married since 2009, and they had 2 children, their son Tyler and their daughter Charlee. Jason asked Brandi why she put a password on her phone. She told him she had been keeping a secret and felt guilty about it. She said their neighbor, who was a contractor, was secretly building a home office for Jason as a surprise gift. Jason felt this explanation was strange because in their 6 years together, Brandi had never shown guilt before. She always said she had no regrets in life. Jason's suspicion grew stronger. Then one day, Brandi left her phone unlocked. Jason looked through it and found a flirty message she had sent to the neighbor. He tried to convince himself it was harmless because Brandi would not do anything to hurt him. Still, the doubt stayed with him. Jason decided to install tracking software on Brandi's phone. This software allowed him to see where she was and to read her messages. What he saw destroyed any hope he had left. Brandi was having an affair with their neighbor, who was 51 years old. Jason read messages where they expressed love for each other. He saw plans for meetings and detailed, explicit conversations about sex. Jason confronted both Brandi and the neighbor. He showed Brandi the messages, and she did not deny what was happening. The neighbor admitted it as well. Jason wanted a divorce right away and was ready to leave, but Brandi had a different plan. She told Jason that if he tried to leave, she would use something against him. Years ago, when Jason was in high school, he had tried to kill himself. Brandi said she would bring this up in custody court and tell the judges that Jason was mentally unstable and could not be a good parent. She said she would make sure he never got custody of Tyler and Charlee. Then Brandi spoke to the children. She told them that their father was angry at her. She said that she had to move out because Jason was kicking her out of the house. Tyler was 6 years old and Charlee was almost 2. The children cried when they heard this. When Jason came home and saw them crying, he understood what Brandi had done. She was willing to hurt their children in order to control him. She was ready to cause pain for all of them if Jason tried to leave. Jason swallowed his feelings and begged Brandi to stay. He did this for the sake of Tyler and Charlee. When Tyler was born in September of 2009, he was born 10 weeks premature. The complications frightened both Jason and Brandi. They made a promise then that the children would always come first, before anything else, including their marriage. So Jason stayed. The affair had happened. Brandi said it was a mistake and promised it would not happen again. Jason tried to believe her, but the trust was gone and their marriage became an empty shell. For the next year and a half, Jason lived in misery. He counted every day. He knew it had been 476 days since he confronted Brandi about the affair. He kept track because every time the pain came, he told himself maybe tomorrow he would not think about it. But he always did. The constant worry wore him down. He felt trapped. By late 2016, Jason thought Brandi might be cheating again. He did not have proof, but he saw signs. She was secretive and distant. He knew he could not live like this anymore. The children deserved better than a home filled with lies and anger. Jason decided to ask for help. He went to the internet and posted on a relationship advice forum on Reddit. He used the username Jason in Hell. He explained everything: the affair, the manipulation, the threats, and the years he stayed for the children. People responded in large numbers. Almost all of them told him the same thing: leave, get a divorce, try to get custody. His children needed to see him stand up for himself. Staying in the marriage was not protecting them. It was teaching them to accept a bad relationship. This advice gave Jason clarity. On November 15th, 2016, 7 years after marrying Brandi, Jason filed for divorce. He told Brandi what he had done. Later, he said she understood why and knew the marriage was over. They talked quietly about what would happen next. They discussed custody arrangements. Brandi seemed to accept everything. There was no yelling or drama, just a calm acceptance that their marriage had failed. Jason thought it would be hard, but manageable. He believed they could make a custody schedule that worked. He believed Tyler and Charlee would adjust. He believed that despite all this, Brandi loved their children and would put them first. But Jason had no idea what was coming next. The morning after Jason filed for divorce, Brandi took their children, Tyler and Charlee, to her mother's house to spend the day. Jason went to work like any other day. He was a software engineer, and it was just a normal Wednesday at the office. That afternoon, when Jason came home, the family drove together to Charlie's dance practice. Charlee was now 3 years old. She enjoyed dressing up and having her hair braided. She went to preschool at Wilson Early Learning Center and took dance classes at Dance by Deborah. She also liked going to story time at the library and had attended basketball camp and vacation Bible school. Jason described her as a big ball of attitude. Tyler was also now 7 years old and in first grade at Sugar Creek Elementary School. He loved playing any sport he could find: soccer, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling. He tried them all. He had lots of energy and was very outgoing. His pastor from summer church camp said he was a hoot. Tyler had a personality that made it easy for him to make friends. He could enter a room filled with strangers and come out with 20 new friends. The dance practice was one of those family activities that felt routine and normal. Parents watched their child learning steps and twirling around the room. Charlee enjoyed herself, and everyone clapped for her. After practice, they drove home. They ate dinner together at their house on South Madison Street in Darlington. The meal and their conversation were normal. Jason thought nothing was odd. Brandi seemed calm and did not show any anger about the divorce filing. Everything felt strangely regular. After dinner, Brandi said she needed to go to Walmart. She told Jason that Tyler had a school project requiring pipe cleaners, and she needed to buy some. Jason agreed to this, and Brandi left the house. She drove to the Walmart in Crawfordsville, which was a few miles away from their home. Instead of buying pipe cleaners, she went to the knives section and picked out a Ka-Bar combat knife. This was a large, brutal knife designed for military use. She bought the knife and left without buying anything else. When Brandi came back home, she hid the knife in Tyler's bedroom. She placed it carefully in a spot where Jason would not find it. Afterward, she went to the living room. In the living room, the family had a Murphy bed. This was a bed that folded up into the wall, but could be pulled down to sleep on. They often played on this bed together, Jason, Brandi, Tyler, and Charlee. They laughed and joked, acting like a typical family spending time with each other. Jason saw nothing strange, and Brandi showed no signs of what she had planned. After playing, Jason gave Tyler and Charlee a bath. He helped them get ready for bed, including brushing their teeth. He tucked them in, told them he loved them, and said he would see them in the morning. They both said goodnight, and Jason kissed each of them. Then Jason went down to the basement to sleep. He and Brandi had not been sharing the same bed for some time. The basement had become his own space to sleep. He lay down and fell asleep, but Brandi was upstairs, waiting. In the early morning hours of that day, Brandi Worley went to her son Tyler's bedroom and woke him up. She told him they were going to have a sleepover in Charlee's room. She said it would be fun, just the three of them. Tyler, who was 7 years old and still half asleep, trusted his mother. When she said there would be a sleepover, he believed her and got up. He followed Brandi quietly down the hall to his little sister's room. Charlee was asleep in her bed when Brandi and Tyler entered. They were quiet, and Brandi closed the door behind them. Then she took out the combat knife she had hidden earlier that day. She climbed onto Tyler and pinned him down. Then she began to stab him. Tyler died in Charlee's bedroom. He was stabbed many times in the neck with deep wounds. Blood was everywhere on the floor. Tyler died while his mother held the knife. During the attack, Charlee woke up. She was 3 years old. She saw her mother over Tyler and noticed what was happening. She asked the question any child would ask. "What are you doing?" Brandi looked at her and said one word, "Nothing." She told Charlee to go back to sleep. Charlee trusted her mother and closed her eyes again, going back to sleep. Brandi then turned to Charlee. She used the same knife, still covered with her son's blood, and stabbed her daughter. Charlee died the same way as Tyler, with multiple deep stab wounds to the neck. Charlee died in her own bed. After killing both children, Brandi turned the knife on herself. She stabbed herself in the neck several times. But unlike her children, Brandi did not die. Her wounds were serious, but not deadly. She survived. Brandi also swallowed a large amount of Benadryl. She wanted to die with her children and not let them live without her. Then Brandi called her mother and told her what she had done. Her mother was horrified and told her to hang up and call emergency services immediately. Brandi followed that advice and called emergency services. In the early morning at 4:33 on November 17th, 2016, the emergency dispatcher in Montgomery County answered a call. The woman on the line said her name was Brandi Worley. She gave her address as 203 South Madison Street in Darlington. The dispatcher asked what was happening. Brandi spoke in a calm and almost flat voice, clear, but without any emotion. She said, "I just stabbed myself and I killed my 2 children." The dispatcher paused, then repeated what he had heard, sounding like he could not believe it. "You stabbed yourself and killed your 2 children?" he asked. Brandi confirmed with a simple The dispatcher asked where the children were. Brandi said they were in her daughter's room, on the floor. Her speech was a little slurred because she had taken a lot of Benadryl. She said she was tired. Then the dispatcher asked where Brandi had stabbed herself. She replied it was in the neck and that there was blood everywhere. After that, the dispatcher asked the important question, "And what caused you to do this today?" Brandi answered quickly, without hesitation. "My husband wanted a divorce and wanted to take my kids. And I do not want him to have my kids." The dispatcher kept Brandi on the line and asked about her husband, where he was. Brandi said he was downstairs in the basement. The dispatcher asked if Jason was okay. She said she did not know because she had not talked to him. He then asked how she was feeling. She said she was tired and mentioned she had called her mother, and she told her to call emergency services. The dispatcher, Kyle Proctor, hoped at first that Brandi was not telling the truth. He wished it was just a delusion or a confused person having a mental health crisis and imagining things. But as she continued talking and gave more details, he realized this was real. Brandi was confessing to killing her children. About halfway through the call, Brandi's mother arrived at the house. She had hurried there after getting Brandi's phone call. She took the phone from Brandi, and the dispatcher asked her to check on the children. Brandi's mother went into Charlie's bedroom. Seconds later, her screams filled the house. Jason Worley, who was sleeping in the basement, woke up suddenly confused by the noise. He heard his mother-in-law crying and screaming hysterically. He ran upstairs. When Jason reached the top of the stairs, he saw his mother-in-law in the kitchen and Brandi in the living room. Brandi looked at him and said, "Now you cannot take the kids from me." Jason did not understand what she meant at first. He ran toward the children's rooms. Police were already coming, with sirens sounding nearby. They arrived within minutes. Officers found Jason outside, being held by family members. Inside, they found Brandi sitting calmly, bleeding from her neck wounds. They discovered Tyler and Charlee in Charlie's bedroom. The children were pronounced dead at the scene. Brandi was taken to Indiana University Health Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis. She got treatment for the stab wounds she gave herself and survived. Over more than a week, she slowly recovered. When Brandi spoke to paramedics and police, she remained without emotion. She told them she wanted to die with her children, saying she did not want them to live without her. She said she did not want Jason to take her children, so she stabbed them. Outside the house, Jason stood while police worked at the scene. At one point, through the sound of police radios, he heard the words that confirmed what he already knew, but could not accept. 2 deceased children in the house. Several days later, both children were buried at Greenlawn Cemetery in Darlington. The small community came together to grieve. A vigil was held at Congregational Christian Church on November 18th, and the funeral took place on November 22nd at the Darlington Community Center. Hundreds of people attended. Jason set up a GoFundMe page to help with funeral costs and his immediate living expenses. The response was overwhelming, raising more than $50,000. YouTuber Philip DeFranco promoted the fundraiser after Jason contacted him on Reddit and told him that Tyler and Charlee loved his content. The divorce Jason filed for on November 15th was finalized in March of 2017. By that time, Brandi was in Montgomery County Jail, waiting for her trial. Brandi Worley faced 2 charges of murder for killing her children. At first, she pleaded not guilty. Her lawyers said they planned to argue that she was insane at the time of the crimes. But in January of 2018, Brandi changed her plea to guilty for both murder charges. Jason was there when she said this in court. He later told the Indianapolis Star that Brandi showed no remorse, just like she had during the emergency call. She spoke in a very calm and matter-of-fact way when she described what she had done. And Jason said it was heartbreaking to hear her like that. On March 19th, 2018, Judge Harry Siamas gave the sentence in Montgomery Circuit Court. Brandi was sent to prison for 65 years for murdering Charlee and 55 years for murdering Tyler. The judge ordered that the sentences run one after the other, which means a total of 120 years in prison. This was essentially a life sentence. Brandi did not say anything during her sentencing, Her lawyer, Mark Inman, told reporters that there was no clear reason for why she committed the murders. He said that Brandi showed feelings during their first meetings, but later became very quiet and emotionless because that was the only way she could handle what happened. He said she did not know why she did it. Before giving the sentence, Judge Siamas said a few words. He said, "Sometimes there is no explanation. Darkness is in this world, and it penetrates minds and our hearts." At the time, Brandi Worley was 31 years old. She is now in the Indiana Women's Prison in Indianapolis, where she will stay for the rest of her life.